Inwards, outward. Inwards, outward.
So first of all, a big thank you to the Center for Peace Through Culture for hosting iWow here. And I just learned that we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of the CPC. No, of iWow. Got it. So I'm a newbie, obviously. I found out about iWow about a year and a half ago, and I'm newer to the Berkshires, so iWow is kind of a new thing for me, but I came in and immediately recognized the deep legacy of Deb and the community that she built here. So it's really impressive to know that's been going on for 20 years, and there will be some anniversary things coming through, so check your emails. If you're not on the email list, you can go ahead and do that tonight. And for tonight's event, we do have a donation box and refreshments out there, things that just keep this rolling. So I wanted to mention that. And then the Center for Peace Through Culture, we're honored to have some board members here this evening. So I wanted to introduce them, give them a chance to show their faces, and for us to all meet them. So first is Colleen Sims. Is Colleen here? Hi, Colleen. And Colleen, you're the president? Excellent. All right. Nice to meet you. Thank you. And Kathleen Frome. Hi, Kathleen. Vice President, correct? Past Vice.
Yeah, but he's current Vice President.
Okay. Excellent. And then Chris Meyer. Hi. And Chris, what's your role?
The new guy.
The new guy, like me. Excellent. All right. So welcome and thank you all for being a part of the board here. Also, thank you to Joe, our man behind the camera right there with CTSB. Joe will be recording this evening. So if there's any of you who are standing up here at any point who do not want to be recorded, you can either speak to Joe in advance or let him know afterwards and he'll edit you out. So consent and permission there. And then we'll have a few announcements later on. Is there anything I've missed up until this point? Anybody have anything else? All right, let's dig in. So the theme was kind of just a random thing that came to mind. Denise always asks me if what themes I have, and I gave her a list of like 5 or 6, and this is the one that we ended up picking. And as I think about it, it feels very fitting for this time of year because we're kind of in our cold times and hibernation, but many people are out adventuring and it is chilly. So, this is a time where the adventurous spirits can be out doing their adventure things and the thrills and chills. But we get to bring the adventure in tonight. And when we listen to stories and poetry and music, we get to experience that adventure through the voice of the person who's sharing. So tonight, we get to experience the excitement of adventure, the thrill, the unknown, maybe some aha moments, some learning along the way. And we get to support the adventurers who are coming up here with courage and bravery and vulnerability to share a little bit about their experience and their journey. So I invite you to settle in, to be present, and to support our adventurers as they come on up here. How's that sound? Yeah. And on my list, I have about 14 people. I don't know if everybody is here, so we'll just work our way through, and I'll announce each person. I'll announce who's on deck, and then we also have the support of Denise over here helping us with timekeeping. We're aiming for about 5 minutes per person. So if you hear, will you do a little warning ding? Yeah, that's kind of like your, okay, time is soon over. That'll be a gentle but firm reminder. All right. So our first person that I have on the list is Deborah Macheski. Did Deborah make it here yet? All right. I didn't have her checked off. So then that brings us to Ted. who will start us off. So let's give Ted our support. After Ted, we'll have Mariah.
Thanks. The way I wrote this, it's hard to read, so I might not do very well. Even harder for you to understand. So don't try. Called Sleeping on Whiteface. It will be thrilling, he said, and chilling, she said, falling on my head, hitting a tree. They don't have trees, not down where you will be. Where I will be, where will you be? At the summit, skiing, I will meet you at the training slope. Thus, they set their first date. Well, first date skiing. It would be their first date after their third date, the one where they slept over. Slept. Why do we still use that mamby old word in America? The country trying to get itself great again one way or another, trying to avoid sliding the slopes into martial law, where you win elections and court cases by whispering or having your people whisper, "We know where your kid goes to kindergarten." Sliding down that slope would be the real thrill and chill, but why go there on your third date? Or what was this skiing thing really, their fourth? Yes, but it was the long president's weekend. That's a lot of skiing, a lot of sleeping, she was thinking. Why do we call it sleeping? He was thinking. I'm not going to be snoring with this one under me, over me, riding my après-ski slopes. And now he was losing concentration, had to finish the spreadsheet and give a talk to the boss at 3 and then get out of here. They will use her car, her SUV, new BMW S something, color of champagne supposedly, leather from something originating in Nepal supposedly, had ski racks. Came as a package. She took it thinking, maybe I can get a guy with this. And she went to that singles bar on 87th just after Christmas, parked out front so you can see it through the windows if you look over the candles, real candles, on the table she reserved. This was their third date. She calculated it. She knew it would end sleepy, so to say. She liked to say sleep for this thing. BritBox types say shag. Sounds okay, but seems sloppy. Her brother kind of coined one for Americans, cop, like they copped on their first date. Etymology, he tells her, copulating, basic, animals, no guilt. He wasn't police, she thought, so he didn't have the creds to be repurposing that word. Oh yeah, repurposing reminded her she needed to finish the PowerPoint and give a pitch to the team at 3 and then out of here. What were they going to repurpose? Secret. Some new recycling. And then she will tell her sleepy guy over pillows under wet sheets after the sleep shag cop in the après-ski mood. But she forgot. They almost talked about immigration ruining something or other. Almost did heat waves and elections over breakfast. Then back to the room for a quick shag, let's call it. Then out to the learner hill, leaving her with a long kiss, and then into an empty seat to the summit, maybe waving to another to join him on the other side, maybe ski pants tight as yoga, jacket hiked up short, her blonde hair flapping his goggles. At the top they locked hands and ran to the edge and flew down the slope, maybe falling by mistake near a cluster of pines shagged in ice. Their first date, they will tell the kids, if it comes to that. They will meet up next Thursday back in the city and maybe go to Tahoe in March. She will be from London, loves to shag and calls it that. Kind of seals the deal with him. Shag. But hang on. They've just fallen there in a 10-foot snow. They wrap together. They each have a partner down below doing the training package. doing it just to please them, just to ease the way back to the après-ski fire and drinks and shrimp dip and hot tubs and white terry bathrobes dropped to the floor. All of that will be, but right now, here, these two who met 10 minutes ago on a metal seat swinging above the snowy woods are now wrapped in the snow. They let the chill snake up their legs and let their thoughts about their partners melt into dreams and then stop in a chilling sleep, while their loyal 4 skis stick out against the white, calling as if for the help that digs them out, like hot dogs stuck together in the freezer. Do they make it? Why not? It's just a story. And what a story it will be for their kids if there be such. I mean, kids in the future coming down the slope like a winter so fast you cannot see it. Yes, the future, where winters and Adirondacks are bedtime stories that moms are reading in dark cells where they strain to recall the thrill with a tear on the cheek, the thrill of sleeping wherever you liked and with whoever.
That was an adventure in dating, relationships, metaphor, skiing, sleeping. I love it. Yes, little smidge of that. Thank you, Ted. All right. So we have Mariah will be next, and then Eric. Is Eric here?
No.
All right. So after Mariah will be Kristen. So let's give it up for Mariah Baca. Is Mariah here? Oh, no. All right. Just kidding. What an adventure. We're just rolling right on to Kristen Grippo will be next, and then after Kristen will be Chris. So let's give it up for Kristen.
They're just the right height. That's very rare. The mics are where they need to be. Hello. Never had a cold, but my voice disappeared. So I've got that going on. And I just realized I had these happy faces on my sweater, which is great. My son put them there, but my 80-year-old, who's 4, my son, but my 80-year-old dad loves smiley faces too, and will often put them on everyone he sees. So thinking of him here. So with the theme, I couldn't not. My son's currently into Scooby-Doo, among other things. So I couldn't not think about haunted amusement parks, Thrills and Chills. So I've been thinking about haunted amusement parks, which brought me to some fun memories. I don't know if they're fun, but to some memories that some vignettes I'd like to share with you all. So one of the coolest things when you're a kid is for your relatives to own an amusement park, and which my mother's cousins, Johnny and Tony, did. Adventureland down in Hicksville, Long Island, and it was, a step up from a creepy carnival because it always was there. It wasn't, that shoddy because the rides were not on the brink of falling apart like most of the carnivals I ever went to. So going to Adventureland was certainly a thrill, especially when you could get in for free. They would only give me a ticket, never anybody else I brought along in the party, which is pretty lame. And Johnny and Tony, they were brothers. I think there's a third brother. I don't know if he was involved or not. One of them always had a terrible toupee, probably still does. God bless him. And so the most thrilling and terrifying thing for me in Adventureland was obviously the haunted house. So I loved the swings, which were like, metal, like up high, swinging around. The swings I loved, and the carousel, and the Gravitron was the thing where, you stick to the walls and you climb up, which is like so cool and exciting. I love the Gravitron. Um, and the pirate ship, which is all, like, you're halfway up this way, you're halfway up there, everyone's screaming. Um, and they had like a rickety, not that big roller coaster, that didn't have any loops or anything. That was more death defying just because you thought maybe it was going to fall apart or you were going to like fall out or something. Um, but the haunted house, I was really afraid of. I was afraid, and obviously, like, I just didn't want anyone to know that I didn't ever want to go in it. But when you get to a certain grade, I don't know, like 5th grade, it's a thing. It's like, you got to do it. And my secret to this day, this moment, is that I went in the haunted house more than one time. But I can't tell you what's in it because the minute, like we'd get in the cart, and then you'd go in this dark tunnel and the doors would close. The minute the doors closed, I shut my eyes so tight and I wouldn't open them. I was so scared. I did a little, and it was, it was like a plastic vampire, and like, and the worst part was that at the end there was this loud horn, like a train horn, but just like as you exited, like like just and we'd get out and my friends would be like, oh yeah, and the vampire, and I'd be like, oh yeah, totally, like just like completely whatever they said, like, oh my gosh, yeah, when that like picture came to life. So I don't know what was in the haunted house, and I'm glad, and I don't care. So that, and then there's these other short little things, and to me they're all mashed together, but I did get to have my birthday party there when I was a little younger, probably like 7, something like that, and that was cool. Now my sister is 12 years older than me, so she was my idol. She was like my teenage dream. I modeled everything after her, and I worshipped Lorraine, and therefore had a little bit of envy around like anytime she gave any of my friends attention. So on this particular birthday, there was this already very cute girl in my class, Larissa. She was an actress, I think, too. So everybody like loved her. She already got a lot of attention. And for some reason on the Ferris wheel is the thing that goes like this? Yeah, the Ferris wheel. My sister went on with Larissa and this other girl, Abby. And that's whatever. Like I was able to handle that. But then, like as they were letting people off, and for some reason, like they got stuck at the top. So my sister was stuck on top with 2 girls that were not me on my birthday. And this was like, I don't know if it was deeply traumatic, but it was deeply upsetting. I'll say that. Denise is telling me I have to stop talking soon. So, which I asked her to do. I did. So that's my other little bit for Adventureland, that it came with like thrills and chills and some like weeping. And the one last thing is that also kind of a sad one is that for my birthday cake that year, my mom gave the job over to my best friend's mom, who got a chocolate cake, and I was into vanilla. So like that was totally lame and disappointing. Like I was like, what? Like it's my birthday and it's a chocolate cake. So I guess that wasn't really the best birthday. And this is not my finest moment. This is not going anywhere, but this is to say, now as this adult woman, I still do like those kind of places, but I can't go on any of those rides, guys. So if anyone, wants to volunteer to be that person to do all that with my son, like come on along. Gabriel's waiting for you. You can ride the rides with him, and I'll buy you some cotton candy. Thank you.
I love how adventure brings out the real parts of us, right? Like the real fears and the real FOMO. right? Or the disappointment of expectations, or the exceeded expectations that, but the fake it till you make it is what stuck out there. Like, just close my eyes and pretend. Thank you, Kristen. So moving on, we are going to have Chris next, and then after Chris will be Jedediah. So go ahead, Chris.
All right, I don't think this is going to take 5 minutes. It just may seem like it. Yes, I'm Chris. I am the new guy on the CPC board. And as part of my initiation, I wrote a poem. We don't actually do initiations. It just feels like it. The title is "We All Make Mistakes." There's no correlation with my new spot on this board. But this is a true story. Some of you may have noticed, some maybe not yet, Deb's letter of love on our window got wet. Not from rain or from snow, as a few of you know. It was splashed with some wine about 2 weeks ago. Like the Witch of the West, the words started to melt, and you cannot imagine the panic we felt. For 3 years, now 4, those brave words from her heart were a touchstone, a statement of Deb's brand of art, encompassing all at once details and essence. If you never had met, you could still feel her presence. Intimate, innocent, vulnerable, wise, whimsical, hopeful, always a surprise. We tried hard to save all the things she wrote there, the feelings, encouragements, insights, and care, and wrote on a window, transparent and clear so we could see through, "Love has nothing to fear." But accidents happen. The wine didn't know that those words unprotected would go with the flow. From the very first wipes, it was clear to us all. The writing was, pardon the pun, on the wall. Not a letter was spared, and the piece was destroyed. The window, so once full of love, was now void. Anyone passing who'd seen it before might think we were fixing to close up this store. That's so not the case. So not part of our plan. In fact, for the record, we plan to expand from a programming base that we all know so well, more iWows, more outreach, more stories to tell. So for painters, performers, and plain artsy types, all folks of all ages and colorful stripes, please rest ye assured that we're working for you, and the top of the list is to restore that view. We all make mistakes, and they come with a lesson. This came with a few, so I won't keep you guessing. WWDD stands for what would Deb do? She might paint it again, maybe this time with glue. With glue or with waterproof paint or some such, how could we recapture her personal touch? For starters, our Melanie there at the scene thought quick to take pics, and those pictures are clean. Inside, looking out, as had first been applied, if maybe projected and properly sized, a team with some patience tuned into Deb's voice could retrace those words. But would that be her choice? Melanie contacted some of Deb's friends to talk about painting Deb's letter again. And what do you know? Deb's friends, rather than panic, observed that this moment is much more organic. Impermanence, meaning some things come and go, could maybe explain how this empty window could be reimagined with more of Deb's words, and more often so more of her words could be heard. That notion's got legs. We think it could be fun. A billboard of Deb's voice out loud in the sun. In summer or fall, it could change with the seasons, or whenever we want. There don't have to be reasons. For sure, it will say what it said as before, perhaps for the effort, a little bit more, about joy and respect for the gifts of our lives and the comfort in knowing that love never dies. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. An extra shout out because that's a first time iWow performance. Oh, thank you. So we will move on to Jed next and then Jenny. And Jenny will be giving us a little slideshow here. So, yeah. So Jed next, come on up.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to share a little tale, a true tale. And so my friend and I had just arrived. We had been driving for 2 days straight across the country, alternating turns at the wheel, and we were exhausted. And so we agreed to not unpack the truck at all and just stumble inside the house and unwind. And we weren't there very long, maybe 20 minutes or so, when the telephone rang. And we were kind of surprised because we hadn't told anybody that we were going to arrive that day. And so my friend walked over to the wall to the telephone, and this was way back when there were telephones that lived on walls. And he picked up the telephone, and from across the room, I could hear this panicked voice on the other end of the phone saying, "Oh my God, you guys are home. There's a tornado, and it's heading right for Monterey. Get in the basement now." And the phone died. And so my friend put the phone down, and he looked at me with this kind of bewildered expression, and he said, "But I don't have a basement." And for my part, I had no concerns about that. In my life, I was a sort of adventurist, and I had all kinds of adventures that people would refer to as death-defying, and I had survived them all. And I think at that point too, I had begun to think that I was somehow like safely nestled within the bosom of Mother Nature or something. And so, what did I have to worry about? A little old tornado. And so it was clear what I needed to do. It was walk outside and have a look, check it out. And so I walked out onto the deck, and yes, the sky was ominous and the wind was really whipping. And so I walked out into the yard barefoot, and I stood in the grass, and I dug my toes into the grass, and I closed my eyes, and I raised my arms up, and I just leaned into that wind. I was like doing like a little wind dance, and I could feel the wind pressing against me, curling around my body, and it was just amazing. And then I heard this snap, and it was quite loud. I opened my eyes, and I saw this branch cartwheel past me on the lawn, like a bit of tumbleweed in the desert or something. And I looked over at the house, and my friend was up on the deck, and he didn't look well. He was looking really worried at that point. And he yelled across to me. He said, "I have this well house underground thing in the backyard. Maybe we should go in there for some shelter." And I just smiled at him, and I just closed my eyes again and went right back to doing what I was doing. I was having a great time. And at that point, there was this sound, and I remember it was like a sort of crackling sound, and it seemed to me as if perhaps it was like some big bonfire just out of sight or something like that. And honestly, it was a really weird, strange sound and a bit unsettling. And I looked over at my friend again, and he was freaking out at this point. And so I said to him, maybe we should go check out this well in the backyard. Show me what you're talking about. Let's go have a look. And so he scurries around the house, and I go around into the backyard. And at this point, the wind is just ripping. It's ridiculous. And I go in the backyard, and there's this little structure with an A-frame roof down to the ground, and it's only about this high. And there's this tiny little door. And I open this door, and I look in there, and it is dark. It is wet, and clearly my friend and I we're barely going to fit in there, if at all. And I look at him, and I say, nothing is going to make me jump in that pit, man. Nothing. And literally, right at that moment, everything shifted. There was this like rumbling thing. I don't know, honestly, if it was really a sound or if it was just a feeling. And the noise, no longer branches breaking, it was like entire trees twisting and cracking. And not just trees, it became like the whole forest coming down, and it was getting closer. And so I looked at my friend and I opened that door. I said, we better jump down in there right there. And we did. We jumped down in that pit, and I closed the door behind us, and it was pitch black. And it was deafening noise outside, and we were just terrified. And so we were doing that thing that, you can imagine what people do in that situation. We were like professing our love for one another and all the things that we held dear in life and all kinds of confessions that I don't really remember to this day. And, but what I do remember, the next thing that I remembered was that I realized that it was suddenly quiet and I could only hear us breathing. And I realized that I had never been so scared in my life, and that I was deeply, deeply humbled at this point. And we learned later on that the tornado had literally done a horseshoe around my friend's house. And so I'm not sure what happened that day. Maybe we got some kind of reprieve or something to continue on. And but anyway, here I am to share the story.
Jenny, Jenny said, thank you for indulging me, but I feel like we got to indulge there. I felt like some of those photos, I wanted to be in them. So thank you, Jenny. That was spectacular. So we have Angela and then Bob. Is Travis here? Okay. We did forget Kitty. How did that happen? All right, Kitty, you're in here. Why don't we have Angela and then Kitty? All right.
All right, thrills and chills. I haven't been up here reading in a dozen years. So that's thrilling and chilling. And I forgot my glasses. Okay. Possibly. That's probably good. Thank you. That's helpful. What will you do with your one precious wild life? 8:15 a.m. Tuesday morning, February 6th. I was thinking about the robot vacuum cleaner my Texas cousin had just told me about. A good one, she said I could get for under $150. Think of the time I could save, I had said, becoming wistful as I bent to pick up the red rag kitchen rug as I do each morning, collecting up the wood chips that scatter after my husband brings in the firewood and then goes off to work in his muddy boots. My cousin had 2 robots going all day in her San Antonio home. I tried to picture a machine oscillating across my wooden floor. With the red rug balanced so as not to spill the dried mud and wood chips in my arms, I opened the kitchen door to our patio, and a bobcat bounded from my kitchen stoop. Yes, a bobcat, bigger than a house cat, smaller than a good-sized dog. The same tall gray one we'd seen sauntering down the gravel driveway at 7 a.m. in broad gray daylight just 2 days before. Bobcat's been around all week. The neighbors with cats all know. February is bobcat mating season. We first noticed because rabbits would scurry out from one hiding place under a porch or a wood pile and flee into another hiding place, bounding across our white yard. But we hadn't heard any high-pitched squeals from their kills in the night, nor found the soft, round rabbit tails we sometimes find in the snow the next day. Nor did we hear the blood-curdling sound of a woman screaming in the night. Bobcat mating calls. It's true, Google it. But for days, my cat had been acting restless, going from window to window, listening intently at the outside doors or standing still in the kitchen. So much so, I began to follow him in his indoor stalkings. That's how I saw the bobcat in our driveway days before. I must have interrupted the exploration of the rabbit tracks that go under our house into a tight crawl space with its opening just beside our kitchen door. There he or she was, beautiful, young, healthy cat, now sitting in the sun on the far step of our patio, a mere 20 feet away. Bobcat turned to observe me, waiting for me to finish shaking out the rug, which I did. Go away, I pleaded, holding the rug against my chest like a shield. My voice sounded strange, like an aged grandmother. You're just too close for a wild animal, I explained to the animal. I was thinking of my own cat, Kitty. Luckily, the cat door had been locked the night before, a mere last-minute remembrance before I turned off the kitchen lights and went up to bed. Sometimes we forget to lock the cat door altogether. Plenty of room for a bobcat. Bobcat seemed interested in me. You are a bobcat. I nervously imparted this great truth. Bobcat just sat there looking at me. Obviously, I was not menacing. Years ago, a bobcat had sat staring at my own cat from beside the garage. My then young Kitty thought it might be a play buddy and started to cross the driveway to investigate before I intervened. And another spring, our cat, who is usually quiet, meowed loudly in the kitchen. Then from under our kitchen floor, we heard a purring, growling sound. And with 2 flashlights, my husband and I went out into the sunshine to peer under the house into the darkness. Our dim lights hit upon gray-spotted fur coat, Bobcat. Maybe it was a baby who had been stashed for a hunting spell. We didn't know. I did not go back inside for my iPhone. Sure, no one would believe how close I was. But I didn't want to go in, and the photos were always just a shadow of the real thing anyway. I just wanted to look. If she is a she-bobcat sniffing around for my cat, whose litter we sometimes scatter out back at the edge of a field, I could have said, well, he's old and fixed. I could have told Bobcat. But I didn't want my kitty to sound like a wimp or some old morsel that could be easily grabbed and gnawed on. Too close, Bobcat, I repeated louder in a more scolding tone. He looked at me, listening. Does she want me to feed her? Does a bobcat dream of warmth and food placed out in bowls? Does he long to lick coconut oil from a plastic pink ice cream spoon the way my cat does? Does he want to make me move over to curl up in the only warm bed spot on a cold night? Would she know a real ocean-living tuna fish if she saw one? And would she eat it? Does this cat dream of domestication like the Egyptian god cats of old? In the same way that I dream of living in a cave on a high mountain shelf and simplifying my life with life, death, food concerns, and spiritual practices. Is Bobcat my totem animal? Or is it the possum who lives under our house and comes out at night to finish off the birdseed on the ground? The one Bobcat is still probably waiting for. She looks at me, I look at her. What will you do with your one precious wild life? Satisfied, she raises her haunches and begins a slow stroll, her bobbed tail with its distinct white tip swinging in a cavalier fashion. I even thought I saw her swing her hips in a little show-off way. She turns once more to look in my direction, and before her body dips gracefully under the bare forsythia bush that hides the deer trail that leads to a short woods, across other human properties, and to the forested hills above, I swear I hear her say, "Come, I know a place."
I feel a temptation toward rewilding, right? Getting back to our wildness. Thank you, Angela. So Kitty is next. Kitty, my apologies for skipping. And then after Kitty will be Bob.
See if I can cope with the microphones. Patriots Day started with Paul Revere's ride from Charlestown to Concord, April 18th, 1775. Thrills and chills, then momentum and traction. The British are coming, the British are coming. Redcoats, guns, order, officers. And we are so small, so only, so without an army, without. Then in the dark, Charlestown, Medford, Menotomy to Lexington, calling out, the British are coming, the British are coming. The houses before the cry are dark. Revere's voice lights up the wake of his path. The noise of church bells chiming for danger, for preparedness, for militias mustering. Thrilled that the egg of change has finally cracked. Chill in the dark morning of April 18, 1775 with fear. Cold, dark morning. How far does the voice carry? Who rings the bells? That voice, the call lingers as the rider churns and thunders on, down Mass Ave, onward into the dark. The horse running. The sound of the voice stays for seconds where the man calling out was. The sound of the horse on the roads and stones, insisting, More bells begin to ring, men and women out of their beds, out of their houses. More candles, more light, more sound. The darkness is pushed back. Then in Lexington, as dawn breaks, and moments after Paul Revere arrives, the sounds thrill and trill, the pipers of the British, and faint drums. Drums marching in formation, getting louder, closer. Revere swaps horses and rides out. The militia, the colonial Minutemen are on the green, wives running back to their doorways. Shots are fired, the first 2 deaths of the Revolution. Revere is on to Concord to raise the alarm. The British are coming, the British are coming, for the powder reserves just south of town. 2 dead, 2 chills, cold, sadness, bitterness, agony. Then, as the British retreat back to Boston, through the same towns, on the same roads, they were chased, shot at, and pounded. All the bells, all the shouting, all the men hidden behind stone walls, in barn doorways, by trees, looking for the brilliant red coats. Light becomes sound in this darkness, stirring, thrilling, and waking. Then blood. Blood is the chill, darkening on the ground. Cries of loss and anger. The power of sound to light, to stay bright in the people now awake. It was a long day. Longer because it was lit by shouts and bells. It was lit well before dawn, well before any daylight. A long day with the sound of light.
Thank you, Kitty. That was such a long time ago, right? It's like legend, but yet it's important to remember the past in that way. Thank you. All right, so Bob, followed by Travis, and then Steve will close us out.
Hi. Does anyone remember the novelist Tom Robbins? Popular 30 years ago, whatever. He talked about, in one of his books, he talked about the word choice. He said it's only 6 letters, but it's very powerful. It allows yes and makes no possible. Puts the free in freedom, takes the obligation out of love, and upon it depends all adventure, all exhilaration, all meaning, and all honor. It's the only word which a mirror cannot turn around. Ever tried it? You type it in all caps, hold it up to a mirror. Choice. Tonight, I want to talk about another word. It's even fewer letters, 4 to be exact, but I think it may be even more powerful. I hope it doesn't make this my first and last presentation. Some scholars say it's an acronym for fornicate under command of the king. Fornicate under command of the king. Get a sense of where we're going here? That's right. Back in the day, the king would legally instruct his subjects to have sex in an effort to monitor reproductive rates. Right? Can you imagine the conversation at bedtime? Oh, dear Maid Marian, so sorry to hear that you have a headache. I mean, hey, I don't really feel like doing it tonight either, but we have our orders from the king. So let's begin at the beginning. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was fuck. There's a legal document dated 722 CE. You guys know CE, Common Era. Says it's the secular equivalent of AD. It mentions a place called Fuckerham, which means home of the fucker. Probably, I don't know where it is, but I'm guessing it's in the Cotswolds somewhere. Right? Then in 1310 CE, in Chester County, England, there appears the name, and I'm not making this one up, Roger Fuck by the Navel. But it was 1475 when the word was first used to convey disdain. Disdain. When you click on the word in my Microsoft Word system, it doesn't even give you a definition. It just says may be offensive to your readers. Do you remember George Carlin? Right? It was one of his 7 dirty words, right? It was definitely not allowed on TV, and it was rarely used in what we used to call mixed company. But now it seems to have inserted itself into the quotidian vernacular of almost every day. Everybody uses it and frequently, right? After we moved here, my 75-year-old female neighbor said to me, "Oh, I love your wife." And I said, "Oh, thank you. What do you love about my wife?" She said, "I'm so glad she says fuck." So then, this is kind of a it's your guys' turn here. So there's an adverb form. Does anybody know it? Absolutely. Okay. There's the geographically remote, as I'm lost, man. I must be in East Bumble. Right? There's the problematic situation, which according to the Urban Dictionary, I think I'll skip this part. The extremely problematic situation, cluster fuck, right? There's a contemptible male, fuck boy, whatever, fucker. There's a regular sex partner without romantic attachment. Ted must know this one, right? Fuck buddy. There you go. You guys got it. Otherwise, and then you may have heard this one in the lyrics of those linguistic authorities, Amy Winehouse and Adele, to describe behaviors that are nonsensical. Fuckery. It says one of the quotes I found says it has grown past its solely derogatory meaning to no longer be just a swear word. It is a cultural indicator, a tool to marginalize its users, and a stress reliever. Back in the 1600s, zounds was the stress reliever, right? Doesn't have quite the same punch, right? Zounds. And then there's the pronoun modifier version. There's the fuck him, fuck her, fuck them, or the ubiquitous fuck it. The celebratory, laudatory form, fan-tastic. There's the machine gun form for angry moments. Fuck, 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 fuck. There's the social desirability. My female business partner, I asked her, why does she work out? Well, I certainly don't want to become unfuckable, right? You remember this fellow Huckabee, who was the governor of Arkansas a while back? And he worked in New York for a while. And he said he found himself that he was immersed in a hotbed of New York culture. He said, gosh, I could not believe my ears when I heard women regularly drop the F-bomb. Then a little later on, in a moment of sort of karmic payback, Megyn Kelly, the news host, was introducing the governor onto her show, Governor Huckabee, and she introduced him as Governor Huckabee, right? My 8-year-old grandson, who lives up the street here, he uses it very frequently in perfect context. Should I correct him, admonish him, congratulate him, ignore him? I don't know. Maybe you guys. There you go. There you go. You got the idea, right? As of last week, it reached Oval Office status, right? President Joe, has been reported that he uses it to describe his likely rival as a sick fuck. I have to admit that one works for me. I'm a free speech guy, basically, I'd say, and I believe that words cannot hurt me, but On the other hand, I think they do have consequences. And I used the word myself for many, many years. And then I started hearing myself, particularly with that 8-year-old grandson. And I kind of decided, well, is that really what I want to hear myself saying? So I've kind of curtailed that use. I gave myself permission for this evening. So I guess I could say that I'm, again, only 4 letters, so powerful. And I guess I can say that I'm finally fucking done. And any fucking questions? That's the last I'll say. Thank you.
While I'm tempted, I won't drop any F-bombs in response to that. But thank you for that extreme history of the word and examples. I think I felt both thrills and chills in listening to all those. All right, so Travis is up next, and then we'll finish with Steve.
Thrills and chills. 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 Thrills. Meetings promise everything, going back to the condition of the sky. Listen, this is the place to recognize this alone and the similarity of landscape. A boy with muscles like potatoes heading west past Wisconsin and familiar hills, away past a rain to a meeting on the river, falling in the water, clear, and the fear of breathing an apparition. Stops at country fairs to laugh at the condition of the crops, mentions to farmers an old familiar bed and how he can't drive much without running over medians, going 70 down the shoulder to catch up with another one of a kind. A boy who fell from the bridge, thrown from the car in a mesh of helpless gestures, sank into the river as word spread, a red shirt going under, heard by crowds larger than parades. Look to hints of the land, conditions of those who have gone the same way, who never returned. Into another dancing eye, recognize the dancing. A kiss in the mirror to show up in steam. Chills. Can these pieces of the kitchen remodel prove? Plywood. Start there. Tear out cupboard and find unseen backsplash built in. A surprise surface revealed. Dispose of. Should have known all along from the sound it was within, hid, muffling our cheap arguments from getting out, resounding for neighbors to hear. vinyl floor, desperate brown, rolled out one-piece scape, brown deposing any stain of notice, illusion of interlocking shapes, duly brown. Swear, didn't use soap on it more than 10 times in 16 years because of that brown. Masking mishap, sturdy, hardened, oops, a dead daisy brown. Sink, slamming shit around in a single basin trap way past midnight, cramming more than a few that'll do dishes, soap, obsolete pap. Can't imagine back then how sorry, pronounced clear, isn't appropriate, confession hesitant, spit in there more than arrears. Laugh. At last, back to laugh, with packed in newspaper around pipes, scrap and plaster crap. Find honestly, a deflated orange ball, unknown old, stuffed in with the thin insulation, explaining what kept us cold most of the year and why something new must be put in here.
Thank you, Travis, and highlighting Travis, another first-time IWOW performer. So thank you. So, Steve, you'll close us out with a song, and then I'll come back up. Maybe two? Denise, we have time? Yeah. And then I'll come back and wrap us up, and we'll have some final announcements.
So, chills and thrills, early morning on any lake or pond around here, doing Nordic skating. This is a cross-country ski boot binding that goes onto a Nordic skate. So I use cross-country ski boots with ski poles, and I go on the lakes. And that is quite a thrill when the ice is clear and you can see through it. I go home and my armpits are all sweating because I'm so nervous about falling through the ice. But it's a really easier than regular skates? Regular skates? Oh yeah, it's more fun. With good ice, I can skate like the perimeter of Pantuzak Lake, the perimeter of Noda Lake. Yeah, it's like, but you have to be careful. Chills and thrills. So this is a song I wrote about a friend. Well, this is a song I wrote. It's called To Be With You. Is that the right key? No. To be with you is enough. No doubts, no fears when you are near. There is a peace within my heart. There is a peace, there is a joy when you are near. Yes, time and life, they slip away. We're here, we're loved, we're on our way. There is a peace within my heart. There is a peace, there is a joy when you are near. When the moon comes over the mountain top, the sun peeks over our distant hills, birds fly by in a New England sky, I'll be near. If I can't fly, then let me sing. If I can't sing, then let me see. If I can't see, then let me hear. If I can hear and I can't see, let me feel. Yes, time and life, they slip away. We're here, we're loved, we're on our way. There is a peace within my heart. There is a peace, there is a joy, and you are near. All right, wow. Thank you. So I've mentioned this before, how my family all took piano lessons. My brothers and sisters did a lot of singing around the piano. And I acquired my family piano, a little Wurlitzer Spinet, when my mother passed away. And so that wouldn't hold, it stopped holding a tune like 10 years ago. So I haven't had a real piano in my house in 10 years, right? So I finally bought a new piano before Christmas. And it's wood. It's not rosewood, but it's cherry or something, right? So I buy the piano, and then I'm in Lee, and I go to an antique store. And so, of course, there's some sheet music there. So I go through the sheet music, and there's a sheet music. The name of the song is Rosewood Piano from the 40s or something like that, just in my style, which is stride piano, back and forth. And so I told my sister about it, and I sang it to her, right, for her. And she's religious. She goes, Steve, that's almost a miracle, that song. So I'll see if I can remember it. Rosewood Piano. There's a rosewood spinet standing in the corner, living in the glory of the long ago. And the rosewood spinet standing in the corner tells the sweetest story of the long ago. There were orange blossoms falling, calling, here's your wedding bouquet. I can hear them play, here comes the bride, and you were mine that day. There's a rosewood spinet standing in the corner, living in the glory of the long ago. There's a sweet old lady sitting in the corner, dreaming love's sweet story of the long ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That was a real treat, both of those. So here we are. We're at the end of our little adventure, or coming toward the end. And, I didn't mention this at the beginning, but my background is in facilitating adventure learning experiences. And so as we think about coming to the end of this adventure, I'd like to give us an opportunity to reflect on the adventure that we just had and kind of recap and think about what are the moments that really stuck with us, that were most meaningful, that might have some learning or some inspiration for us that could carry us forward from this moment. So to do a little recap, I'll go backwards. I feel like going backwards. So we just heard from Steve those beautiful songs of love and connection and synchronicity. Take a moment and think about, I'll give a little pause in between each one so you can think about each artist, each adventurist. So Steve, thank you, Steve. From Travis, we had a poem that for me invoked a sense of wonder and curiosity and the complexity of perspective that comes into any adventure experience. From Bob, we had a couple of key words: choice and fuckery, and all its iterations. From Kitty, the question or the inquiry that I had was, how far does the voice carry? Right? And everybody whose voice got shared up here tonight, your voice is being spread out, so it will carry beyond this stage. From Angela, our reminder to reconnect to our wild side, our one wild and precious life. From Jenny, the felt sense of the visual adventures. I'm guessing that was your life, but it really invited us in, right? From Jed, defeating the odds, invincibility, the invincibility that comes when you've been through something that's challenging and you come out on the other side and wow, it builds confidence and faith in yourself. From Chris, the impermanence and how mistakes have something to teach us, and how although the writing was impermanent, the love is still very much alive, right? From Kristen, the Scooby-Doo haunted the haunted amusement parks. You talked about Scooby-Doo, that stuck with me. And facing our fears and faking it till we make it. And from Ted, sleeping on Whiteface. How amazing it is to have an adventure partner, right? And all the risk that comes along with that, and the metaphor and the fun and the passion and everything. Yeah. So thank you. Let's give a full round of applause to all of our performers.